أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد النبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. My dear brothers and sisters, today we'll answer a question related to tafsir. As some brothers ask me, لماذا لم يفسر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم القرآن كله? Why the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم never explained the whole Quran? And one of the mission of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم to explain the Quran, لتبين للناس ما نزل إليهم, to explain to people what was revealed to them. So first of all, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he answered whatever question that presented to him. And in many occasions, when even the question came to him, that general question about things has no revelation about it, he will wait for the revelation. ولا يأتونك بمثل إلا جئناك بالحق وأحسن تفسيرا. So when the people they come and ask the Prophet ﷺ question, if something that from what it was revealed to him, he will explain to them, otherwise he will wait for the revelation. And that's our Prophet ﷺ, the one, he has fatana, smart, he can even give answer from his own, but always he's waiting for the revelation. And that will teach us discipline. Even you think yourself that you're smart, do not just rush for the answer. And actually one time when they came to him, he said, I'm gonna answer you, but he forget to say, Insha'Allah. So the revelation delayed until then the answer came and Allah revealed, وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا إِلَّا أَنْ يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. And now you think of it. If the Prophet ﷺ explained every single ayah, who will come and bring another tafsir and give his insight and his thought about the ayat of the Quran? That will limit the explanation of the Quran only for that time. But Quran meant to be a living miracle for all times. So the Prophet ﷺ explained the ayat that the Sahaba needs at that time. And for example, when they come to him, they said, وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا أَزْوَاجٌ مُطَهَّرَةٌ. What is mutahhara here? Where one of the reward of the people of Jannah, their wives will be pure. So the Prophet ﷺ, he gave them the aspect that maybe never comes to their mind, because mutahhara could be pure from envy and jealousy, that's actually part of it. And another aspect that need a revelation or need somebody like the Prophet ﷺ to explain. So he said, مُطَهَّرَاتُ مِنَ الْحَيْدِ وَالنِّفَاسِ. There's no hayd and nifas. So the point here, the Prophet ﷺ explained to them the aspect that they need at that time. It's not like the point that as we see now the books of Tafsir, explain the meaning behind this word and what's this word mean in Arabic language. They didn't need that. Those people, there is no need for them, because that's their language. There's mother language and they understand the meaning of the letters rather than even the meaning of the words. So that's, one of the reasons. And this question will lead us to talk about tafsir, generally speaking. Now you find multiple tafsir. But if you look at those tafsir, there are three main categories. The first tafsir, they call it tafsir bil ma'thur. You make tafsir for Quran for what was narrated from the Prophet ﷺ and from the Sahaba, from Tabi'een. So that's called tafsir bil ma'thur. And tafsir bil ma'thur, that, for example, to explain Quran by the Quran. So تفسير آية بآية أو آية برواية. So you explain this ayah with another ayah, or even with a different riwayah, because some riwayat could explain the other one. For example, the one we recite today, وَلَا تَقْرَبُهُنَّ حَتَّى يَطْهُرْنَ. The other riwayah, حَتَّى يَطَّهَّرْنَ. المبالغة في الطهارة، والمبالغة في الطهارة لا تأتي إلا بالغسل. فلا يكتفى بالمرأة أن يجامعها زوجها بانقطاع الحيض، وإنما ينقطع الحيض ثم تغتسل حتى يجوز له أن يجامعها، أخذا برواية المبالغة في الصيغة، فقال يطهر. So to explain the ayah with another riwayah, if somebody like would say, like as we recited today, the ayah recited today, that's where the time of menses, that you cannot touch your wife until you cannot have a jima' and and intimacy until she will take a shower. Until, like, you not only just the menses will end it, but you will have to take another step. Why is that? Because there's another riwayah clear, حتى يطهرن. So the يطهرن, that's understood, but when it comes يطهر, that means they have to have an extra step. It's a mubalagha. It's not only just enough that the menses ended, but they have to take a shower. Of course, there's many hadith support that, but just give you example to explain Quran by the Quran. And explain Quran by the Sunnah, by the hadith, as we mentioned. So the Prophet never explained the whole Quran, but to the Sahaba explained just, what came to him and people asking. And then explain Quran by the statement of the Sahaba. And the Sahaba were very careful. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, أي سماء تظلني وأي أرض تقلني إذا قلت في القرآن برأيي وبما لا أعلم. Where is the sky that will cover me? Where is the earth that will carry me? That if I will say just a word about the Quran or in Quran without knowledge or without being supported by evidence. إذا قلت في القرآن برأيي أو بما لا أعلم. So they were very careful. Despite that, they have a great knowledge and mashallah, but they will never rush to give the answer. And then explain the Quran by at-tabi'een. So the tabi'een, they are saying the scholars of the tabi'een. And by the way, when you look at the scholars among the Sahaba, yeah, they have knowledge, but not all of them are scholars where they master all areas. There are a great number of Sahaba are scholars, fuqaha, but not all of them. And then the tabi'een, they learn from Sahaba, and at the same time they have input. One of the famous tabi'een among the tabi'een, like Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, like Hasan al-Basri, and many others. People, they come to them and they ask, and they're trying their best. And tafsir Quran بسبب النزول, to look at the history and the time of revelation. So you link that with the ayah, because every text has a context. So understanding the context, that will help you to understand the text. And that's why when you understand the seerah, that will help you to understand the Quran, because you put it in perspective. So this is what's called tafsir bil ma'thur. There's another type called tafsir bil ra'i, that to explain the Quran by an area of knowledge according to the experience of the one who explained the Quran. And that's understood because the person that's in any field, that field will have impact for what he will say. When you see the doctor will talk, even general talk, you realize the terms, the terminology that he used, and the meaning behind that, it's affected by his talk and speech. And a teacher and an engineer, so the language that they use is different. Whatever, duty and function that you're doing in a daily life, and daily activities, that will affect you. So let's say there is an Arabic language scholar. So when he will explain the Quran, that knowledge about the Arabic language scholar, that will come when he will explain the Quran. You find the faqih, somebody he's well versed in fiqh, so when he comes to explain the Quran, he will link it. So now when, for example, the faqih will say, وَامْرَأَةُ حَمَّالَةَ الْحَطَبِ. So, okay, what is this? What's the fiqh in this? He will say the faqih said, Allah named it imra'atuhu. So this is recognizing the marriage among the kuffar. Because Allah said imra'atuhu, that's his wife. The faqih, because he will look at the fiqh aspect, he will see the fiqh aspect, even in the ayat that you didn't see that there's a fiqh in it. Okay? So that's called tafsiru bil-ra'i, called be tijah al-fiqhi or tijah al-lughawi or wama ila dhalika. And there are many tafsir, by the way, in that, sense. And then there is tafsiru al-ma'ani or tafsir al-ishari. There are other type of tafsir it might be too much. They're putting the influence, of their thought and ideologies into that. And that's why the other type of tafsir, we have to be careful when you're reading this. Could be whatever, maybe tafsir ishari, sufi, tafsir ma'ani. We have to be careful because sometimes, the way that they are looking at the ayat, sometimes it could be a level of exaggeration, or the ayat, it doesn't contain what they said. But there's just the link that's not that strong. So, among tafsir, there are different types of tafsir. The best one, of course, the tafsir bil-ma'thur, that will be safe, that you read from it, and that's one of the main source you can say. However, we should not just jump and go and read tafsir by ourselves. Always by recommendation or by studying, direct with the Sheikh. At least before we grab the tafsir, we'll come to the Sheikh. Is that safe to read from that tafsir or not? Because he will say, yes, please go ahead. That's something recommended. Or he will tell you, yes, go ahead, but be careful. Maybe this tafsir has some element that you have to be careful about it. For example, there is a book called Al-Kashaf, and the author called Az-Zamakhshari. He's Mu'tazili. A group they not exist. Maybe some of their thought still. But when he made the tafsir for Quran, he tried not to emphasize much, but there is some of that. So the scholars, they say, what? استخرجنا الاعتزاليات من الكشاف بالمناقير. They took out whatever influence from his thought in his tafsir carefully, because he included with the way it's not easy for normal people to find out. For example, he will explain about the Jannah, and he will talk about Jannah, and then he will ask question, وهل بعد ذلك من نعيم? Is any na'im after this? So he hint that's the highest level of na'im. No, there isn't another na'im. It's not only entering Jannah, there's another na'im. To see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ru'yatullah. That's a higher level than, just to enter Jannah. And Mu'tazila, why he said that? Because Mu'tazila denying that. They're not accepting this. ينكرون رؤية الله سبحانه وتعالى. So look at how he stated. وهل بعد ذلك من نعيم? Is any na'im after this? So we say, yes, there is no na'im. This Jannah, and after he explained to you, yeah. No, there is. So we have to be careful when we're reading, tafsir like those ones. So I will, say Tafsir bil-Ma'thur, that's the best one that you read. And nowadays there are many efforts that they collected the tafsir of Sahaba. So there is no such called Tafsir of Ibn Abbas. But what happened? The scholar of knowledge, they collected the statement of Ibn Abbas and they put it in a volume. They call that the Tafsir of Ibn Abbas. And so, So they made many efforts, to do that. And there are a lot of tafsir in the past, but none of that, reach us completely. And the first one in the past, as scholars said, that's the first one that completely we received, that Jami' al-Bayan, that's Tafsir al-Imam al-Tabari. And before that, there's no one tafsir completed that reached to us. However, there's efforts from the scholars, from student of knowledge, and many others, that they gathered those ones and their Tafsir al-Quran al-Azim, al-Haddad, and as I said, they collect the tafsir of other Sahaba and they put the volumes. But actually, it was not meant those ones as tafsir, as book was written in there. The tafsir at the beginning used to be just a chapter in a book of hadith. It's called Kitab al-Tafsir. That's one of the chapters. Kitab al-Iman, Kitab al-Ilm, and others. So the book of tafsir used to be not a separate knowledge. It's just chapter in books of hadith. And then later developed, it became by itself. But it's really interesting to read, tafsir and to have reflection on the ayat. And it is our guide. It is our manual. It's our life. It's our spirit. It's our light. So we need it. It's very important. We have to reunite ourselves with the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to connect ourselves with the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a daily basis. So that's what we should always go back to the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all. اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا واستر عيوبنا وبلغنا في الدار مطلوبنا اللهم نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة آمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك جزاكم الله خيرا